Hi, my name is Roshini. Welcome to my LifePage. Today we're going to be talking about education policy, but before that, let me introduce myself. So I was born in India, but I was raised mostly in the US. I went to school, again, I did my university and my undergrad and my graduate work in the US. I did my graduate work in international development, specifically education policy at Harvard University in Boston, Massachusetts. And after finishing Harvard, I started consulting for the Partnership for Child Development at Imperial College London, and then moved to the World Bank shortly after that. And I've been with the World Bank for the past 5 years. My work at the bank brings a lot of my international upbringing to bear, and I've been able to sort of combine my passion for poverty alleviation with my interest in analytical work in economics of poverty and development to bear at the World Bank. Okay. I have been working in the field of international development and specifically education policy for the past 5 years. So I work in education policy, and that means that I look at how education systems function and how they grow and what it takes to make them develop. The best performing education systems in the world are those that do well on international tests like PISA, or there's a range of international exams by which countries are measured in terms of their educational performance. What I do is I work with countries to help them develop and improve their education system. And that's basically the core of good education policy. Good education policy will help a country to improve its general education sector, which means its basic education from K through 12, as well as its higher education sector, which means its university and postgraduate education. So what I do on a day-to-day basis is I work with governments to help them to look at different areas of their education system which need improvement, and help them to look at different ways in which and strategies for improving those areas of their education system that need improvement. So what we do is we fund different sectors of the economy. I work in education. We fund the education sector, which means we put money directly into a government's education budget. In India, this year, right now, we have approximately $2 billion in India's education budget, which goes directly into the government budget for education. Through that, we help the Indian education system to improve. And my work, I don't work on India, but my colleagues work in India, and we would look at how we would have discussions with the government in specific areas of the education sector which need improvement, and then where we can put our money to help them improve. Now let me tell you about what education is required to work at the World Bank. You need a pretty varied skill set, because a lot of what we do is we look at different systems and we analyze what works and what does not work in a system. And so in order to do that effectively, you need good analytical skills. You need to say the biggest positive is that I get to work towards a fulfilling goal of improving people's lives. At the end of the day, that's what I do, and it's extremely fulfilling, and I would say that's the biggest positive. The biggest challenge is probably the long working hours. You have to be able to commit to working a lot, and we're oftentimes working through weekends, working on tight deadlines. So I'm going to describe a day in the field, which is when I go to a country to work with the government. On a typical day, I have about 4 meetings scheduled. I start off, I go to the Ministry of Education, and I have a day of nonstop meetings where I meet with different teams. I especially work with planning units at the Ministry of Education, and I go over their education sector development strategies and plans for a 5-year cycle. And we discuss where they are in terms of results indicators that have been outlined for them, and we look at what they need to do to achieve their indicators and areas of progress and areas of challenges. I do that several times a day with different units at our ministry. Then I come home, and at the end of a mission, if it's the last day of a mission for the World Bank, I will spend probably all night writing an aid memoir where I document the findings and the outcomes of our discussion and the next steps that the government will have to take to achieve outcomes set for them. I hope I've given you a balanced view of education policy development, and thank you.